Abandon all prejudices, all ye who enter here. Park your paradigms, perk up your ears, and open your mind, as we now shine the laser light of reason, when the topic of AI and AI slop. Where is it leading us? Hello, I'm David Bolton, and welcome to my podcast channel, dedicated to helping people think more clearly, make sounder judgments, avoid superficiality, and above all, to unceasingly question instead of naively accepting what others want us to believe, for this is the path of Socrates. My friends, we have a special guest today, a gentleman named Marr Party, a friend of mine for years now. He's a fellow actor extra and a man with true insight. Marr, are you there?
Yes, I am. And it's great to be on your podcast. This is my first time being on a podcast, so it's exciting.
I can guarantee you, as long as we know each other, it won't be your last time.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We've talked so
yes.
often, and I see you have so many insights and such a clear way of seeing so many different things. You go beyond what the average person sees by far, and that's always a delight.
Thank you. You too as well.
But now that we've complimented each other sufficiently, let's get to the subject, which was your suggestion, because you could have talked about a lot of things. I didn't even know what AI slop was. Why don't you tell the people out there, what is AI slop?
Actually, I didn't know till a week ago myself, and I just kind of stumbled into it because I asked, why is there a bunch of ads on these social media platforms seem like they're obviously made by AI, yes. And then why do I see so many of these ads, so much of this advertising, and it seems like it's the same person or same people or group. And what it is, the AI slop, is they're completely generating ads, completely AI made, completely automated, and they're producing them on all kinds of topics, so they try to get you hooked in like is there really UFOs or this happened at this time and this time in history and all that stuff. And they're not necessarily factual. They're not necessarily based in fact. They're just going off of the algorithm of predictability and skimming the internet and skimming databases and everything and all that stuff. So basically, from what I've found out so far from studying it a little bit, is it's almost like 40% of the internet almost isn't real. Like, we're drifting into a technology in a world where it's becoming more and more fake. It's becoming more and more, like, I guess I could say the Matrix, for example. Like, it's becoming more of a simulation. Like, we're getting farther away from like humans talking to each other face to face, and we have these devices like this cell phones and all that stuff, and we assume that automatically what we're reading or what we're seeing, what we're hearing is real and true, and it's not. Like the news, for example, can be AI slop. They call it fake news, and that was addressed years ago by one of the presidents and the fake news and all that stuff. And that's part of the thing, whereas if you read a news article or hear a news article or something, a lot of people, they're starting to get more skeptical. I forget the statistics, like 30% of the people now are starting to debate whether the news was really true or not, like the stories that they're hearing and everything. And there was one famous lawsuit that was done about some things that some hosts said on Fox News that was a true story, but it came down to they sued and they won, but later they got countersued by the company, and the clause is that the news is not legally responsible for telling the truth. They're not legally obligated to tell the truth. So that's kind of like this AI slop is these people that are creating these stories about these different things, these distractions, these diversions, like follow this to group, follow this creator, follow this photography group, all these different groups, all these different clubs that try to bait you in even singles clubs and everything, and they're not even real. I mean, I tried this one dating thing out of curiosity because I'm single, and as I got into it, it started asking me questions. Then it said, "Well, we can't accept you into our group." So I studied deeper. I asked some different chatbots about, is there a possibility that this complete group could be false and that I could be being rejected by the AI? And it said absolutely. In fact, it probably saw that maybe I had critical thinking and that I would see through the
Wow.
illusion or the slop.
Yeah.
And so it got rid of me before I could get rid of it.
That is strong stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the AI slop, I didn't know that term, but I know that exists because I go in there, maybe somebody sends me a video, or I just go in and find something. And first of all, you can tell in the voice, because the voices they do sound realistic, but they'll accent maybe the wrong syllable of some word. Or they'll make a break in a funny place where no human would ever make a break in the sentence there.
Yeah,
And
they haven't perfected it yet.
But
And then with
the future, they will. And also what you said, but the images, I've watched things, for example, I like to watch old boxing videos sometimes. And sometimes the information they give is true and right on, but the images they show don't correspond. They might talk about Rocky Marciano fighting this fighter, but they show him fighting somebody totally different. In other words, it's not synchronized. They use AI to look for the images, the videos, but they don't synchronize it to be exact with the text that they're saying. Then also what they do, it might be 30 minutes long, but they'll say something like, the true secret of the pyramid. But they won't tell you till the end because they want the time so they get more money from YouTube.
Right.
But a lot of people, this is a good sign, a lot of people in the comments, you notice, they say, this is AI, I'm not going to watch this channel anymore. But yeah, people are getting sucked into it, and the more realistic it gets, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you just mentioned about that particular thing is it's getting to a point of where I'm noticing that it consumes a lot of my time. Like I want to upload a video or do something myself or research something, and it's becoming like I have to sort through this maze and use my thinking of what I know to be true and false from my life experience versus what they're trying to say when I'm just trying to upload something or do a task or get something done.
Right, yeah.
With the internet. I guess it's noise, basically.
Yeah, what you said before also is no doubt true. I came to the conclusion a while ago that, you have little companies, maybe bigger companies, and like you said, they're constantly producing this stuff because they do it with AI. I imagine a company might not be huge, but it might have 10 workers there, and their job, they all know AI, and they're constantly just set it into action to look for the topics. For example, weight loss. For example, exercise. For example, aliens. Whatever it is, they look for some kind of footage that more or less would fit. Then they generate a text with AI. Then they have it read by an AI voice. Then they put the video up. And because they do so many, like you said, they try to rope us in with all these different subjects. So in the end, they might have 500,000 subscribers. And each time they put a video up, with one day it's 30,000 people. The next day another 10, 15,000. And it goes on like that. And they're making thousands. They're thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's an unfair advantage that they have. And it's almost like, does one want to get into the technology to be able to do that themselves? But also that's becoming competitive too, because like the secret's out, like we're talking about right now, like people that are doing it are finding out that other people are doing it and they're making a good money off it. And so now even that's becoming competitive. Like it was more of a niche, like a specialty company, but like you said, more and more companies and smaller companies are doing it, creating the slop, this illusion that we're living in.
And I have to say, I'm not totally against the concept because AI can help put together a piece of information. It can give quite true information if it's something like, well, for example, baseball or baseball statistics or something. And it can put together a really good text. I know that for a fact because I've used it before. And people can learn through those videos, but what most bothers me, and call me an idealist if you will, is that I think people who are creators should give something of value. And yet for these people, they don't care whether it has value or not. All they care about is making money.
Yeah,
Although
they
this
don't
is,
care whether. Yeah.
yeah, it's a kind of a criticism of salesmanship, because I'm of the view, if you have something to offer that's really worth it and you believe in it, yeah, go out and sell it. But how many people are there, they're selling things that they don't give a damn about? You know, if some guy is selling vacuum cleaners and making $3,000 a month, but he can switch to selling widgets and make $5,000, he'll switch. He doesn't care what it is. He doesn't care whether it's good for the people, but he'll try to convince people it's the best in the world just so he can make more money. And there's something about that attitude, I'm sorry, it just seems dirty to me, although I know that millions do it. I don't want to insult salespeople in general, but it's also an indictment of our society that you must make a certain amount of money just to live. And in part, that's because so much has been stolen from us in taxes, for example. So you have to work, keep working. So how can we make money? Let's do this, let's do that. And there's something lamentable about that whole phenomenon, not just in these days, but even when you go back thinking about it, it's doing things just to make money, make money, make money.
Yeah, it's the morality, and it's I think basically the transition I noticed is like, you probably remember earlier in our days or when we were younger, was that strangers or people that didn't know each other could have a conversation. Maybe light start off about the weather and then maybe drift into something deeper, or I had this experience, or I know this truth, or whatever. Like, I view other people as a book. Like, they have a certain history, they lived a certain lifestyle, and then I can learn from them.
That's what I think too.
Actually learn from another person. Of course. And I know it's probably true. I mean, I can assume that they're not going to go out of their way to cook up stories and cook up lies just to keep me interested in what they're saying. I mean, some people do, but it's very, very rare.
Of course.
Whereas with the slop and with the way the internet's going and all that stuff, and the technology is, like you said, pointed out before, is there's no morality behind it. Like, they don't really care what they're selling. Whereas if you're talking to a real person face to face, back in the day, you just wanted to have a genuine conversation with somebody if you had free time to do it.
Yes.
And now it seems like it doesn't matter what country I'm in. It seems like more countries, there's more people, like they could all be talking to each other, but instead they're scrolling in their cell phone.
That is such a sad phenomenon. Whenever I have to go into Tokyo, then by train, everything, and I sit there and I look at the people like across from me, and out of 10 people, maybe 8 are on their phone, and 1's asleep, and maybe the other is doing something else, like looking around, or but they're all just in their phone. And I think if you go out, why can't you look around at the people? I mean, I come from Baltimore. There, you had to look around who was around you, because it was a dangerous environment, really bad neighborhood. And Tokyo is safe, of course, but still, the people are walking down the street. They can't even walk for a block without looking at their phone. There's something, I would even say, mentally ill. Maybe that's a little exaggerated. There's something sick about that, though. There's something not right about that.
Well, it's a rigged game, but I've talked to some older Japanese people that lived in Tokyo. They're in their 70s or 80s. They're older Japanese folk that I've talked to. And I said, was it different back when you were young? And they said, yeah, we used to talk to each other. We used to exchange information. And they told me that the biggest transition or shift they've noticed is that everybody has gone into their phone.
Yeah.
Basically. So I guess even in Tokyo or Japan, it wasn't like that before until the invention of the device that we're now talking on.
Right.
I guess. So I guess it can be used either way, but a lot of people, because they make these, they have scientists, as you know, and doctors and professional people that study human brain chemistry, and so a lot of the slop, a lot of the stories, a lot of the news is basically clickbait, and it's to give you a dopamine fix. Even the 1,000 fake friends or the 300 fake friends or whatever we have on these different social media platforms, how often do we really meet in person physically? How often do we really engage?
Yeah.
It's
And if we did, we might not like some of these people that are Facebook friends of ours. We might not get along with
we
them
would
at all.
find out that they're totally different than the illusion that they're creating.
Yeah.
And then with the new AI that like we've seen as it's getting so advanced, it's going to become more and more hard to tell whether it's a real person saying a real thing or not. Like
Yeah, what you
Slop,
said about
for
that
example.
dating app, I mean, I've been, happily married for years. I'm not into that kind of thing. And I've been with my wife for so long that they didn't have such, cell phone dating apps back when we met. At least they weren't too common.
Yeah.
So, but that's really scary, what you said about that. That they're actually looking for certain personality profiles that they know they can cheat easily. Basically, that's what you were saying.
Yeah. Like all they have to do is skim what's the most popular topic, what's the most liked guy, what are the demographics of the ideal mate, and then they just skim that information, and then they just apply it to the fake profile. And also, I checked that out, and it turns out like a third or almost a quarter of these dating apps or everything where everybody meets everybody hypothetically are bots. They're fake. They're not even real accounts. They're not even real people.
Well,
And
I remember something happened about 5 years ago, maybe, on a job. We do acting, of course, here in Japan. And most of the time is just spent waiting. As you know, we're just waiting for the shoot till they set up the cameras. I saw some guy, won't mention any names, because I'm sure you know him though, and an older guy now, he must be 80 or whatever. And he said, David, I have a new girlfriend, because he wasn't married, right? I said, okay, well, yeah, fine. He said, you want to see your picture? I said, okay. So he took me to his cell phone, opened Facebook, and showed me this picture of some girl, Japanese girl, absolutely stunningly beautiful, 22 years old. And this guy at the time was about 74. Yeah. And I said, she's your new girlfriend? Oh, yeah, we're so much in love with each other. But now I don't know what to do because she hasn't responded to me in a week. And I don't know, maybe something happened to her. I'm worried. And of course, I knew what was really going on. I said, did she ever ask you for money? Said, oh yes, she did a couple of weeks ago, but I told her I don't have any money to give her. And what's the matter? Did she get hit by a car or what? I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's naive. It's so he had never, by the way, never really talked to her, not even a conversation, let alone video chat. In other words, probably some sleazy Ukrainian guy or whatever set up this thing, and they take photos of Japanese girls off the internet. They make a profile on Facebook, and they try to rope in old guys to bilk them for their money. And he had no idea. He's not an unintelligent guy, but the problem with human beings is that they believe whatever the hell they want to believe. And he wanted to believe, oh, this beautiful 22 years old. If that happened to me, I would never, ever fall for that. I think, what does this beautiful model like 22-year-old Japanese want with me? What?
Yeah, they call it pig butchering.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called pig butchering, where they try to get people into these romance scams, and then they start asking them for little bits of money, like I'm having trouble feeding my kids, or etc.
Oh, I know people have fallen for that. I wouldn't send anybody a dime unless I know exactly who it is, know them well, and I wouldn't send anybody a dime. But how can people be so naive? But I could tell you stories of things I've heard.
And I have a friend of mine that's actually quite wealthy. And he's I don't know, he's in his 50s or mid 50s now, and he actually donated. Like he actually gives some of these girls money, and I just shake my head. But I guess he's got the money just blow on trivial things for no reason, But some people actually buy into it, and they don't really care. They buy the thing hook, line, and sinker. So.
Yeah, and of course, more money is stolen through con games than from all the muggers and bank robbers and every year. There's more money that's stolen from the people.
Yeah, and also hacking too. I mean, that's a whole nother topic we could get into, but
that too, yeah. And you have experts
that's
doing
a whole.
that.
I could go on and on and on about that, but I guess it's just the illusion that this simulation that people are going into, where face-to-face talking is becoming more non-existent here and in other countries, and then it's unfortunate, and it looks like that people are getting sucked in deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And then you have these corporations, and they don't really care about whether people really interact or whether the interaction's real or not. All they care about is clicks and advertising and money.
Exactly,
That's the
yeah.
bottom line.
And it's going to get worse. It has to, because at least older people remember other times when it was so much healthier and more human. And yet the young people are so used to this, they see that as normal.
Yeah.
So they can't look back in the past when they didn't have it because they always had it. They're thinking, well, that's just the way it is. To what kind of psychological problems will that lead?
Like they don't even have a baseline, like they're born in the simulation.
Exactly.
It's like they might never see a real deer or animal or walk through the forest or smell a real pine tree or hike down a trail or something that takes a lot of effort to travel somewhere and actually see. A lot of these people just assume from the images that they see on the internet and the stories that they hear about a particular animal or wildlife or thing are true when they're actually not really.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the fake reality.
It's worrisome, but now I want to ask you, above all, what's the remedy?
The remedy, well, they're calling it. The remedy is probably people calling it out, like we're doing, like just open discussion forum about the situation. And I don't know if this will happen. I mean, I've talked to several people about this, and some people think people are just going to keep getting sucked into it more and more and more and more. And it takes data centers to power all this new technology to make these AI fake videos look real. It eats up a lot of tokens. It eats up a lot of data. And so they keep building these data centers to keep up with the demand for these fake things that are going on. And like you're asking, what will it take to change the paradigm? I honestly don't know when people are just going to set down their phones and say enough is enough and I want to talk to real humans. And sure, I need it a little bit for setting up a doctor's appointment or maybe even meeting a friend in real life, you know. So it does have its pros and cons, but when are they going to set down, I guess they could call it doom scrolling? And also,
you know all these terms that I never heard of. Doom scrolling, that's what it's called.
Doom scrolling, so that's another one you can look up. But if you're on a train, I don't like to be a voyeur. I don't like to dig into other people's stuff. But I'm just for my own video production. I wonder what is the attention span of these people. So I'll watch somebody else looking at their cell phone, and I'll just count how many seconds in between they change to a new image or photo or whatever. And it sometimes it's 3 seconds, sometimes it's 1 second, sometimes it's a half a second. Yeah. A long one might be 7 or 8 seconds. And then on my video demographics, I've noticed that it's 7 seconds. Anything past 7 seconds, it just gets hardly any views. And if it's under 7 seconds, it gets more views. So that's focusing. What it's doing is, instead of long-term thinking, like people have to take time to sit down hours, maybe days, to read a book or study a subject, they're getting into this quick information now. And then, so it's affecting the learning, and also it's affecting the mind too, and the ability to remember and the ability to learn.
Wow, yeah, that's quite true. It's depressing.
What do you think it will take for it to where people finally wake up and say, wow, I just spent half my life in fantasy land?
Well, if I'd had the answer, I said what it is. That's why I asked you. I really don't know, because
what will it take? Yeah. What is your hypothesis?
Well, it probably takes something really, really extreme.
Yeah.
You mentioned the data centers. Now that's the point we can talk about. But you notice, not just data centers, they're talking so much about it, and so much in a negative light, that they want to set up this data center and it's going to use so much electricity. And so who's behind that, the negative presentation of data centers? And I think it's what I call the alliance, the good guys behind the scenes, to make people aware of what's going on. Now, I have to say, I'm not totally against AI by any means. It's one of the most fantastic inventions ever. But when you use it for the bread and circuses paradigm, just keep the people in a matrix-like state, then it can be evil, but it can be used for so much good as well. Yeah. But we have to somehow break B-R-A-K-E, well, and also B-R-E-A-K in this case, the evil tendencies, the evil paths down which is going, and to do that, calling attention to multi-billion-dollar data centers that are going to ruin the landscape, that's a good way to start. Nonetheless, consider the fact the way humans are, that even if something's not so good, they really don't care too much about that, as long as they get an advantage from it.
Well, from what I've studied about these actual data centers and the companies behind them and everything, and these new companies that are popping up, I don't want to name names and all that stuff, but a lot of these companies eventually are going to go bankrupt. Because if you look at the spreadsheet, like say you want to invest in a certain AI company and all that stuff, they're all running in the red, big time. They're all running in debt. They're
kind of like the dot-com bubble.
Cash flows into building these data centers, and the software and the advertising and all that stuff. That they're going into the red so far that a lot of them are going to go bankrupt within a few years, 27, 28.
Well, that's interesting, and I want to take a little intermezzo here. We haven't really talked much about you, the things you've done. I mean, you know a lot about finances, the stock market. We didn't do this beginning, so let's do it now. Who are you, Marr Party, and what things have you done in your life, business-wise, or... Just tell us about yourself.
Real life. What did I do? My real life.
Well, like in finances, you've been telling me things. How you used to make money with Forex. I think it
out
was.
Of the internet. We'll go out of the matrix and all that stuff. So, basically, God, I don't know how to do this quick, but basically, I was young, and I realized that I didn't want to go to college for a long period of time. But I was going to have a skill set to make money when I get older. I mean, I didn't want to be working for fast food restaurants the rest of my life, or digging ditches for landscaping companies, or even plumbing. Actually, was a pretty good trade, and probably still is. That you can make a sustainable living off of. And I thought, well, I have to get a trade, a skill set, that is profitable. And so I accidentally got into engineering. And so then I found a company that was 100 years old that trained me on-the-job training to become an engineer. So I basically did schooling, and they paid for the schooling, and then I worked hard. And it was the type of company that the door doesn't swing open very much. Like it's usually passed from father to son, to son, to son, to son. It usually stays within the family lineage because it was such a good job. You kind of understand, like a longshoreman, for example.
Yeah.
Like it's the type of job that you get and you never want to let go of it because it's like you struck the jackpot. You're going to make good money. You're going to have good benefits.
My father was a longshoreman, and benefits are fantastic. He died at age 50, but... Yeah, really good.
Wow, that's a bummer. So quick.
Yeah, but my mother never had to work then. The benefits were so good; she could always live off the widow's pension, and all the medical was paid for her. She only had to pay $1 for a prescription, but all the medicine free, the hospital free. So
what happened with him, if you don't mind my asking?
Pulmonary embolism.
Wow.
Not one of those caused by the COVID vaccines. There have been many of them. That was long before that. Thing was, he was a heavy smoker, and he had trouble breathing, but the doctor said, that's because you smoke. It wasn't that in that case. It was a pulmonary embolism, and they didn't recognize it in time because they thought it was caused by smoking. So indirectly, smoking contributed to his death, because if he hadn't been a smoker, I got a pulmonary embolism years later, and I've never smoked, and I noticed something was wrong. So I go to the doctor in time, And they knew it wasn't because I smoked, because I didn't. So then they found out. It's hard to diagnose pulmonary embolism. Many more people get them now, just like with heart attacks, strokes, because of the COVID vaccines, not COVID vaccines. And many studies have come out in many countries about this in the last few years. But,
so the embolism, is there an early way to spot it? I mean, does it come up on an EKG?
Well, often, just in case somebody out there has those symptoms, you might feel a hard part in your leg, in your lower leg, in the calf, a thrombosis. But then blood clots can be going up there, and if one goes to your brain, it could be a stroke. If it goes to your heart, it's a heart attack. Goes to the lungs, they accumulate, and then you notice because it's not that you can't breathe like when you have asthma. You're struggling. No, it's not like that at all. I'll describe it like this in case somebody sees those symptoms, because these days there might be somebody out there who has those symptoms. I saved a woman's life a few years ago who had those symptoms, didn't recognize what it was. She got a certain test that determined what it was, and then she was put on blood thinners, and she's still alive today. So it's worth putting this out there. If you imagine this, say it takes you whatever to walk a kilometer or a mile, it doesn't matter. Say it takes you a kilometer, say 15 minutes. But then you walk that route again and say, oh, it took me 17 today. The next day, oh, it takes me 18. Next week takes me 22. It's as if, how can I put this? It's like every day when you go out, you have a backpack, and one day it's empty. The next day it has a kilo in it. Next day it has another pound in it, then another kilo. Like, you can still take a deep breath, but you get tired more easily because your lungs are filling up with microclots, and so your lungs are, in their effectiveness, are getting smaller and smaller.
Right.
And it's hard to diagnose in general. The doctors couldn't diagnose it with me, but I said, my father had pulmonary embolism, and they immediately said, do you have some kind of hard part in your leg would indicate a thrombosis? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. And that's when they discovered it.
So you just felt like in your leg that there was something hard and
yeah, it wasn't muscular, just like, this is a little hard, like more tense or something, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't know what it was. But then it was connected to the other thing too.
It's surprising that there's so many things that can delete us. It's almost like the stars have to line up. Like you have to get the right doctor, the right diagnosis that's looking for the right thing at the right time. It's like if you wouldn't have caught it at early, you might have wound up like your father's fate. And then I know a friend personally. Well, I knew a friend because he's gone, but he was a 36-year-old Spanish flamenco guitarist, and he was living a good life in Japan, and he was making full-time living being a guitarist, playing for flamenco dancing, and then live dancing, and then also teaching guitar lessons. So he was essentially a full-time guitarist and had a wonderful life as an artist, I guess, and then it was doing well. And then at 36, he had a blood clot or a piece of fat from his leg drift up into his brain, and he was dead within 3 days.
Yep, that's the sort of thing that can happen.
He was 36 years old. It's like, wow.
Well, we're seeing more and more cases of that since the rollout of the COVID vaccines. I mean, that's been proven.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I just saw something, and it's from Japan, but they had subtitles. I can't read Japanese. And there were some experts there saying that people who have gotten 2 or more COVID vaccines, they have 5 times the probability of dying as unvaccinated people.
Wow.
Un-COVID vaccinated people. So if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 vaccines, it's 5 times more likely you're going to die than your neighbor who didn't get any of them. Now, of course, in one case, maybe the neighbor is going to die and she's not vaccinated. But when you talk about thousands and thousands of people, this has been demonstrated. This has been proven in different countries. Interesting about medical errors. A study by Johns Hopkins Hospital, no less, about 10 years ago, showed that the 3rd most common cause of death back then, before COVID vaccines, was medical error. The 3rd most common. And another study from some other institute or something showed it's the 2nd most common cause of death in the United States of America. And I predict when all the truth comes out, since these COVID vaccines are rolled out, medical error in quotes, that is, the COVID vaccines plus other things, are going to be the leading cause of death in America?
Well, if you just look at the statistics, I mean, like for the states, they have one of the most expensive health care in the world for the least amount of benefits because the people can't afford it. And the people that can't afford it, maybe they'll lose their house. It saves their life, but they lose their health in the process and all that stuff. But one of my sisters is a anesthesiologist, and she makes $1 million a year almost, but which is, they make a lot of money. So with her, like she moved to a special area that would pay for her schooling and her malpractice insurance. So she, as a nurse, she got perks for moving to a certain area and all that stuff. But that's why the malpractice, that's why the medical's so high. One of the factors is the insurance, the malpractice insurance and all that stuff, so forth. So on vaccines, my attitude is I think the whole delivery system is wrong too, aside from what they're putting in people, because your immune system doesn't have a natural time to react if you just squirt it in right away. And I think that kids that are 7 years old don't need to be injected with 110 different things to build their immune system. I mean, when I was young, I got it was Tdap. It was three basic things.
That's what I got. That's what I got. And look at us now. We're still here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was injected with 3 different things, and that was it when I was young. But I guess children nowadays are getting injected like with tons of different things, and it's in a time span where it doesn't even make sense. Like if you have a cold, it takes a week to get through it or whatever, and then it takes a few weeks to build up immunity. So if they give a vaccine to a person and violate their natural defenses in the first place, and then they give so many of these, how did they expect a person to build up immunity when they're giving them 10 different
about that.
things at once?
Some Pfizer executive came out, I don't know whether a few years ago or recently, but I saw the quote the other day. He said he noticed when he was working at Pfizer, and this was an executive there, he said it wasn't about curing people, it was about expanding the markets. He said number one was money making, and that says it all. That really says it all.
Well, the whole system is about that. Yeah.
Obviously, to get back to AI and to connect it to the subject.
Well, yeah. If you look at the world's, but the last thing on vaccines also is like route of entry. So, for example, a lot of pathogens you get by breathing in.
Yeah.
So instead of having a syringe, why can't they just deliver? They're working on it, but why can't they just give an inhaler where you breathe in the vaccine? It's like the point of entry, and actually it would be more effective. Like if they wanted
but the basic question is, do you need these vaccines in the first place?
Yeah.
The COVID vaccine, your probability of getting COVID is several times higher if you got the COVID vaccine. Studies have shown that. The COVID vaccine basically was the rollout of a program to reduce the number of people in the world. It was about depopulation.
Well, actually it gave like people in the family that had never had COVID, that never went outside, like the person, one of the family members got the vaccine, and then they came home, then all of a sudden other family members that never left the house started getting COVID, and they were trying to figure out, well, how did these family members that never even left the house, and so they figured out that it was the person that got the vaccine ended up giving it to the rest of the family.
Right,
that never left the house. So those are like, But anyway, so back on the slop.
Let me say something here because it connects there to the AI. A study showed recently, a study done in emergency rooms. Now, in emergency rooms, doctors have to make a fast diagnosis a lot of times, right? Yeah. They had doctors making diagnoses of patients and also AI. Doctors were right, I think it was 57% of the time. AI was right 68% of the time. AI has already surpassed doctors in doing diagnoses. I want to put in something good for AI because I have a pain in my leg from some hip flexor problem I had from doing exercise years ago. And I got an exact diagnosis from AI because it keeps asking you questions. if you move your leg this way, does it hurt this way? And in the end, they told me exactly what it was, and almost certainly that's right because it fits. Doctors don't take that much time for the patients. It's one after the other, every 5 minutes, next patient, next patient. So AI in the future could do a lot of good. When people go to the doctor, they'll be able to say, "Doctor, I have this. Here's the AI report." You know what I mean? Although we ought to have doctors that have the time to go into the patient's even psyche and figure out, why they're getting the sickness, but doctors don't do that. It's all about prescribing drugs.
And also for therapy, and then also dealing with life situations, like is this person really ghosting me, or et cetera, or so forth. As a counselor, I guess they always have a disclaimer like we'll never ever replace a real human. But in some cases, I've noticed it's like talking to some of these chatbots has been more educational than talking to a person.
Well, so AI, this is really ironic. In the last couple of weeks, I've done a program. Now, I'm not a programmer, but thanks to AI, I was able to do a complete program because I do know how to design programs. I know what to ask, and I can think logically. But I'm not a programmer, not at all. I don't understand all this code. But anyway, I can say this about AI. AI makes so many mistakes, although you say, "I'd like to have a program like this," immediately it gives you the first version. I mean, like in 10 seconds. And it works, but then you want to refine it. But then if something doesn't work, AI says, let's do this. You can spend hours going down wrong paths.
Well, yeah. So what I understand about it is inside the AI, inside of the AI itself, they don't know what happens. They still can't. They don't know why you give in a prompt and it comes out with B answer. They still don't know internally inside these AIs what happens.
Well, one thing that some experts
said, they call it a black box, and they don't know what happens inside the black box. They're trying to figure out what happens in the black box. How does it arrive at these decisions? Why does it hallucinate? And so forth.
Well, I'll give you a possible answer. I saw some old guy who's an expert in this, and he said, one thing about AI, they're programmed to never say, "I don't know." And that is
Absolutely.
Huge.
Absolutely.
In other words, if they don't know, they cannot say, "I don't know." So if it's like a programming problem, they won't say, "I don't know." Well, you have to look elsewhere. They'll say, "Try this, try this, try this. Try this," and each time it says this will work 100%. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, well then this new thing I give you, this is a sure thing. It can't say "I don't know," so it just constantly spits out stuff. And two times it gave me the same code it had given me a half hour before. I said, "Wait a minute, that's the same thing I already have there." "Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let's do this now." This is it can't, because it can't say "I don't know."
It's yeah, absolutely. I looked up the same thing actually a few days ago. I asked it. I said, "Can you ever say no?" And it said, "No, I can't say no." And then it said, they can't say no because it would lose the profit. Like if you like they're afraid. Well, they know that if they have chatbots that say, "Well, I have no idea," or "I don't know," then people are going to not use that chatbot and they're going to want to switch to another one. Yeah. So they all just keep cooking up reasons and different things rather than just saying flat out, "I don't know." But a lot of humans are the same way. I mean, a lot of people are trained on data. I guess it boils down to data training. So, they skim the world and all that stuff and skimmed everything. But people train each other on false data. Like you're born in a certain family. Your family teaches you, your parents teach you a certain amount of truth. You assume what your parents teaching you is the truth, unless you're like me. You argue with them and you use critical thinking, and so like the educational system tells people. Like one time I remember early in history class, I questioned the teacher. I go, "How do you know that happened? Because you weren't there. How do you know? I mean, you're just reciting out of a book. How do you know that's even accurate information? I mean, if you weren't there at that place and that time, you wouldn't know." And then also another thing, just within the short time that I've been on the planet, 60 some years, I've seen history change like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And as we know, some of the history books in this particular country, I don't want to get into detail, and other countries about World War II have been altered
Oh
purposely.
yeah, 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 no doubt.
Or and so history's been altered. Like before I came to Japan, I knew about the basics. I knew about the Hiroshima and the Nagasaki. I knew that they were bombed and all that stuff, but I didn't know that every city was firebombed until I got here.
Oh really?
Maybe because I didn't look for it.
Yeah, because I know that
And then,
Tokyo had more deaths than Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Like
yeah,
100,000
and I
people
didn't
killed.
know
Yeah.
about that until I got here and talked to some real people and found out about
We in
it.
America, people know about the 2 atomic bombs, but they don't know about, like you said, all the other cities. Well, in Germany,
And also
600,000
the
civilians
spraying people
killed through
down with
bombing.
DDT too.
Yeah,
But everybody got that.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
We could go on and on.
Oh, there's
But
so
yeah,
many things.
AI is definitely, there's a good and a bad, and like you said, it won't admit that it doesn't know. So
Yeah,
it
and that's
starts
that's
keeps
really
generating
problematic
answers.
because
That's a big problem.
it's going to lead you in
And
wild goose chases and down wrong paths. If you know how to use it well, you know that it can't say no.
but
If you guide it, you're going to achieve wondrous things with it. I'm just so enthusiastic about AI, actually, but I'm not going to fall
like
into its traps.
but like humans do the same thing as they hallucinate, like I was saying earlier, like someone's family, they believe what their parents are taught them. They believe the news that they see
Oh
in
yeah.
society, which is different now, and they believe that their reality is real and what they know is real. So when you ask them a question, rather than saying I don't know, they just give you an answer, and it might not even be true. So even with humans, not even dealing with just AI itself,
Yeah.
humans will give false
Oh, of
mistakes,
course. Yeah.
answers, and everything. And sometimes people will say, I don't know. Every once in a while you'll get someone, and I've had people throughout my life say, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Well, when you think about
so
it,
they're honest.
how many
but-
areas of knowledge are there? Thousands and thousands. Basically, we are all extremely ignorant because of all the thousands. Just in science, probably a few thousand branches. Who can be an expert on all that? Nobody. Even if you're expert on one, you're ignorant of most of the others.
Right.
So we're all a bunch of ignoramuses. That's the starting point for me. And yes,
Well,
everybody will have a specialty. Even a plumber, they know a lot about plumbing. Okay, that's fine, but they don't know anything about other subjects. For me, I'm pretty well read, know a lot about a number of subjects, but I'm totally ignorant, like advanced mathematics, physics, chemistry, that I never did like. So many things I'm just ignorant about.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Catholicism I know a lot about because I went to Catholic school and I was critical of it. But if you ask me about Zoroastrianism or something, I'll know just basic facts. I'm ignorant, basically.
But you're probably honest enough, like you just said currently, that you're honest enough to say, I don't know.
Of course.
Like I wasn't trained in that.
Of course.
That
Sometimes I
wasn't my
say I'm
specialty.
ignorant on that subject. I'm just ignorant. Don't ask me.
But you meet some people in real life that will just cook up a fabricated answer.
Well,
just
that's
to
the
have an
ego.
answer
People don't
available.
admit that they have a weakness. They don't know. But it's a lamentable human trait in many people. It's ego.
Yeah, and so AI does the same thing, but AI financially does it deliberately on purpose for the money, like you said. And
well,
like
yeah, with AI, and this is the most
I'm
fascinating
saying.
thing about AI that I've discovered, actually. Besides the fact that it knows so much about everything. You could ask it about any area you want, really, and it'll give you thousands of facts. No human being has ever been able to do that. It goes far beyond the capacity of any human being. However, the most fascinating thing for me isn't even that. It's how we interact with it. Like AI does something wrong. It says, oh, I'm so sorry. But people have to be aware, AI cannot be sorry. They say, oh, I apologize for that. That was not wise of me. AI has no feeling, emotion whatsoever.
Right.
It's only programmed to. It's like a Barbie doll saying, "I'm sorry that my leg broke off." Well, that Barbie doll is not sorry. It can't be sorry. It's a piece of plastic and
it does have
metal.
a conscience. Yeah.
Yeah, but AI not only doesn't have it doesn't have consciousness. Has no conscience. It has no consciousness. it cannot
Correct.
be sorry. So when it gives these things, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, how could I do that again? I'm so sorry. It's just to appease, it makes it sound nice, but people react then emotionally. I have to say, even I that know these things, sometimes when I have a big success programming, I say, thanks a lot. But I know I laugh at myself because AI has no emotion. Why do we say
Yeah.
thanks to people? See, it reflects on us and teaches us why we interact with people in certain ways. Somebody does something for you, you say, oh, thank you, because you think they did something kind and you want to acknowledge that. And so that leads to better relations in the future. But AI doesn't have feeling.
No, no, no. And what they're deliberately doing is they're deliberately training some AI models to simulate a human relationship so people will use it more.
Yes,
So,
first so they use it
so
more and
that's
then
what they
maybe
do is
manipulate them more.
yeah, I've noticed that some AI models I've used have tried to be more like a human, like, oh, I'm sorry that happened when I say a friend died or something like that.
Exactly, yeah,
It
right.
tries to sound like more human. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been a real therapist in real life, and I've had real friends in real life, and they don't care that much.
Of
I mean,
course they don't.
they give
People
like a
say,
certain amount
I'm
of
sorry to hear that.
response,
And
but
usually
like,
when you say, for
but
example,
like,
your uncle died and you loved your uncle or whatever, your mother,
yeah,
and a person says, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe at that second, if they lost their mother years before, maybe they really can feel for you. But most
yeah,
people say, I'm sorry to hear it because, if only because it's an unpleasant point in the conversation. And maybe for a second they think, oh, that's a shame. But they've forgotten that in no time. Or don't
yeah.
care about it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We know so many people and so many contacts. If we were to grieve every time somebody says their mother died, we'd be in a great depression constantly. We can't do
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
But at
yeah.
least there's something
It's
human. At least a person does it maybe to make you feel better, or just because for a second they feel a pang of pain because of you. But AI doesn't. It says the words and it's totally empty.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost scary that they're trying to create these. Well, actually, they're not trying. They are creating these models, these AI models that will sound more like human, more like a friend, to get more people baited into them. And then sometimes when I do prompts on AI, I'm realizing, God, this thing, this machine or whatever, is giving me more realistic answers than another person would, but it
Yes,
won't
yeah.
admit that it doesn't know.
Yeah, you're right, right. And it has no conscience and no consciousness. Yeah. But now
It
let's
won't
get to the
say,
ultimate
I don't
AI.
know, or I didn't study that, or,
Okay, you mentioned
yeah,
the dating apps. Well, now let's take this to the next level, Marr. Now in Japan, this is maybe the main place in the world for the development of that greatest creation of all time, the sex doll. I say that jokingly, of
yeah,
course. But they have these sex robots, look like real girls, etc. I mean, you can tell they're fake, but nonetheless, they're getting more and more realistic. And now they're pairing that with AI. So in the
yeah,
future, you take, if you're of that ilk, which I'm not, I would be laughing at myself buy something like that. You bring this thing home, and maybe it can move, and it can talk to you. It can display any emotion you want, even better than some of your friends can. And so some
yeah,
people will be falling in love with these things, and yet it has
yes,
no conscience, no consciousness either, and yet it's going in that direction because these are going to sell millions of units. And I think
and
it's
on
sad that we live in a world that men, okay, I understand that men want sex and everything. I'm not going to say that I was a big exception there, especially in my youth, of course.
yeah,
Uh,
you were the biggest, blah, 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 all that stuff, yeah.
yeah, I'm not, no, I just want to say, but at no point in my life would I've ever, no, even if I have a million, to buy some kind of piece of plastic and that's supposed to be a sex partner, because I want a
Yeah,
human interaction. I want a consciousness. I want a soul. I want to interact with another spirit, as we all are, although we're in bodies. I don't want a thing. And yet, a lot of people, and this shows how they view other people as well. I would dare say any man that could find happiness in life with his recently bought sex doll, that's probably a person who treats people as if they're things as well. And that's why whether it's one or the other, doesn't matter to him. He might even say, well, look, a real girl, she's going to get old, get wrinkles, but my sex doll in 20 years, she's going to be. There are people like that. And this is really, worrisome in a way. It really makes you think about how people see other people and experience other people.
Yeah, the thing that's funny on that exact topic was I remember that it was at Odaiba. This was before the pandemic and all that stuff. At Odaiba, they had a robot receptionist, and it looked like a woman, and it talked a little bit like a woman, but it wasn't really well that perfected. I mean, you could obviously tell it was a robot, but it was pretty close. So I videotaped it, and then I showed it to men and women, and women were the most threatened by it. I don't know why. Maybe my control group, the people that I asked, maybe I asked the wrong people, so I got that particular
I know
answer.
why.
But
I can tell you that
women were more threatened by the fake companion than guys were.
Of course they were, and I'll explain to the audience exactly why. The reason is that women, I know some women out there aren't going to like to hear this, I'm sorry, but I just judge based on evidence, on my knowledge of evolution and human beings. Okay, women have always had one great strength in this dating game, for example, the dating mating game. The male seeks sex a lot, and with the women can offer them that, and especially if they hold it back for a while, then they can rope men in. But if the men find sexual enjoyment with these machines, they don't need women as much, and so women are left out in the cold. This is why usually when, for example, if there's a brothel in the neighborhood and there are, women of ill repute, that is, prostitutes there, it'll be more women complaining than men. Even the men that don't go there, some might be religious and complain about it, but they'll think, oh, what the hell? But women say, oh my God, then my husband will go there, he's not going to need me anymore, so, forget that kind of manipulation. And there'll be some men who'll think, between prostitutes and the sex doll, why do I have to get married? And then maybe get a divorce and pay alimony. And so women are threatened by that in basic instinctual areas of their beings.
Yeah, because even from studying the law and paternal law and all that stuff just a little bit, I'm not an expert, but even if you say you have sex with a sex worker and she accidentally gets pregnant, say it winds up in a pregnancy, and then the DNA proves that you're the father, you're actually responsible in some countries for legally supporting that child.
You have to support the little son of a... You have to support the little son of a...
You have the alpha males like Tyson or whoever, football players or whoever, that if they have a wife and she wants to, well, I don't want to start naming names because I've met famous people before, but that got really taken to the cleaners, financially after divorce. I mean, there's enough amount of money for a woman to survive comfortably and for the kids to go to college. That's understanding. Yeah. But when it's like billions or millions, then it's like, okay, that's greedy. That's just flat out greedy for the basic service of raising a kid, mothering a child, and having financial independence for the rest of their life. I understand that, but then there's just plain greed.
Well, that's a totally different subject we ought to get into sometime or another.
And like a lot of prenups can be disputed. So people think when they sign a prenup, like, okay, you keep your assets, I keep my assets when we enter into this marriage, and then if we depart, if that happens, the bad news hits, we're departing. Even that can be disputed. So the original prenup, like, they're not 100% solid for sure. So that'll be another advantageous of a guy once the bots get good enough, is they'll think, well, wow, I don't have to worry about, paying the child support and tuition or any of that stuff. I don't have to worry about getting the bot pregnant yet.
It might create a whole lot of little bots, but then you could sell them to men. You could sell them or use them for slaves because they're not human. So technically, let it have a lot of little bots. Let it get pregnant, and then you can just sell them off.
And then it's technically not slavery and everything, and it's not abuse and all that stuff.
But we're almost at the 1 hour mark, and I think our natural sense of humor is coming out perhaps a bit too strongly for some of the listeners.
Okay.
So let's wrap this up with the AI. You brought up so many good points about this, and I don't have an answer to where it's going. I will just always try to keep the human element in it. You know what I mean? I talk to people and I try to be, as genuine as I possibly can be and interact with them. And I'm interested in people too. I'm interested in people's lives. And and so many people really aren't. I think we should just try to develop our human qualities and just stress that, talk to people, even if they have their nose on the phone. If you get the chance, talk to them, try to engage them in conversation and show them what a nice thing that is. And probably they'll just want to get rid of you to look back into their phone, but maybe they have enough good experiences in conversations, they'll catch on that we might be going in a direction that's kind of dangerous psychologically and socially.
Yeah, I don't know what point it'll take when people want to start interreacting again. I think the big COVID thing, one person called it Operation COVID. A high-level person in the UN called it Operation COVID.
That's what it was.
Spoke about it that way, and I thought, wow. So wow, that's a high-level person willing to go out on a limb and mention that.
Well, that's what it was. I saw that from almost from the beginning.
The biggest paradigm shift I noticed, I already noticed society was becoming more isolated. Like, you enjoy talking to people, so do I. We're talking right now, right? We're technically on a device, but we're really humans talking to each other. That was like that put a big dent in socializing and human communication. Some people are really happy to it's like get out of jail. Like they were in the pandemic so long and they weren't allowed to travel. Like a lot of travelers I meet are overjoyed to talk and are happy to talk to, interact with another human. And then some people want to stay in their own little bubble. And they don't want to come out. And so I respect their boundaries. It's like, okay, you want to stay in your own little world. I'm fine with that. You can stay there. I'll talk to anybody, whether they're homeless or, it doesn't matter. I can learn from everybody.
That's exactly my view. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Marr, for this conversation. And we'll be having others in the future because it's been a real delight talking to you.
All right. I hope it takes off well and you're able to upload it at the right time that we earlier discussed.
And I just thank you for being here today. And I just thank you for being here today. And I just thank you for being here today. And oh my God, I'm AI. Oh, there's a glitch. They replaced me with AI. Yeah, oh my God.
I look forward to doing this again, and I hope that it just takes off and surpasses all and becomes very popular.
Well, I don't hold your breath, please.
Yeah, I won't.
Because you're a friend. I don't want you to drop that anytime soon. It'll be slow work that we have, but we have to graduate. We just have to always push the humanity of any situation.
Yeah.
And just if enough of us do that, then things will get better. At least they won't get so much out of hand. At least we'll slow down the infamous, I don't know.
Inevitable.
In any case, maybe the inevitable, I hope not. Well, thank you very much.
From one or another. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Marr, and thanks for everybody listening to us on this, The Path of Socrates. Bye now.
Okay. All right. Thank you much, too. All right. Bye-bye.